Do you ever try and convince yourself that you can change? I'll give you an example. I thought that I could quit drinking coffee, but only when I tried did I realize how integral coffee was to my life. Not only was I addicted, not only was I stuck with awful withdrawal headaches from the lack of caffeine, not only was I constantly tired, I didn't have my third place. A third place, if you don't know, is an environment different than your home, your first place, and work, your second place. Now that's disruptive enough. Then you add into the fact that my boss wasn't too thrilled with my grogginess at work. Then pile on top of that the fact that I didn't have enough energy to Netflix and chill with my wife when I made it home. So that's home disrupted, work disrupted, and no kitschy coffee shop where I could order my overpriced coffee. The time I normally spend at Beehive Coffeehouse on East Carson was instead spent at home trying to catch up on animes the internet recommends I watch. I still can't tell if Jojo and Boku no Hero aren't my cup of java, or if I was just too irritable without my coffee while watching them. I lasted 10 days. Samantha, my wife, brought me a cup of coffee home. In the middle of episode 6 of some slice of life anime I don't like and can't remember the name of. I can only remember the number of episodes I had watched because I was staggered I watched that much but couldn't recount a single detail or plot point, just a few names. Samantha handed me the Vindi caramel macchiato wordlessly, and I drank it, knowing this wasn't working, knowing I could no longer deny my wife's attention and affection. At the top of the next week, I formed a new plan. Weaning off coffee rather than going cold turkey, no more super sugary coffee. The entire reason I wanted to kick the habit was to lose weight after all. So I entered the coffee house and I remembered why I loved it so much. The bright primary colors, the welcoming yellow logo, the smell of coffee grounds. I was in heaven, but I was short on time. Normally I'd stay 30 minutes or so before going to work, then get another cup of coffee on the way home and stay longer. This time I got up later. I was waiting in line behind a man in a black business suit with a briefcase similar to mine. It was less busy than the normal time I was there, just myself and the businessman. When I got up to the hippie barista, the only person behind the coffee bar, I said not the usual. Plain black coffee, tall. Hazelnut, actually. What can I say? I needed to cheat. I was still weaning off. He said, "Right on," and went to work. I sat there in my prime seating area. You know what I mean? The seat that's your seat. I sat there. If enduring the taste of black hazelnut coffee is what it took to sit there and lose weight, I could do it. The man in the suit entered the bathroom. And then I thought about the bathroom as I browsed Instagram on my phone. The bathroom was neat with all kinds of graffiti with steely bluish-gray paint applied heavily with the craftsmanship of a small child. I thought about the extended breaks I'd taken there, just reading all the nigh-legible scribblings of loons and nuts. Then I admired the hanging lanterns and the currently exhibited art that was hanging for too many months because they couldn't find new artists to exhibit. It was all so lovely. Oh, so relieving. Work would be back to normal too, and so would the Netflix and chill with my wife now that I had my third place again, away from all of it. I glanced up and grabbed my coffee cup and quickly journeyed out the door. Getting to work would be tight, however. It was only when I fished for my keys in my pocket that I realized how light my coffee was. I was holding my coffee and briefcase in one hand and my phone in the other, deceiving me into thinking that the coffee was a reasonable weight for its size. When I placed my briefcase against the Mustang's wheel, I realized the cup was empty. Or so I thought. Thinking I might have grabbed the coffee cup for display purposes or someone's trash, I opened the lid to see a thin white thing. Pulling it out and inspecting it, it was an envelope, no wider than 2 inches. Confused and out of time to investigate, I got in my car and ventured to work. During the day, I wondered what could be in the envelope. I won't beat around the bush and say I wasn't curious. I was very curious. So curious, I felt wide awake and alert even though I didn't have my coffee. Cooler, less skeptical angels prevailed and I didn't open the envelope. I opted to return to Beehive Coffeehouse after work to explain what happened and, screw it, get my Venti caramel macchiato, but it was closed. Sign on the door said, "Closed for an emergency, open again soon." Didn't say open tomorrow or open in a few, no, just open soon. Never in all my years going to this cafe, hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe thousands, multiple, had I ever seen it closed abnormally like this. Something in the pit of my stomach told me it had to do with the envelope. I went to the car and opened the little envelope. It opened to say a name and an address and a time. I won't tell you the name and address, but the time was 11:20 p.m., a few hours away. My wife wasn't expecting me home for a while, and I had nothing better to do than see what was at the address. I didn't think I'd ring the bell. I just wanted to scope the place out. When I arrived, it was dark out, but still more than a few hours away from 11:20. I must have waited in the car for no more than 10 minutes when someone pulled into the driveway. A woman exited the car with a small child, a little boy wearing a Pikachu shirt. I began to feel more nervous as they entered the house. I assumed something awful was happening. My mind jumped to all kinds of conclusions, none of them good. So I did something I realize now was really dangerous, with fingerprinting and all. I tiptoed up to the door and put the coffee cup with the note still inside of it in front of the door, and I rang the doorbell, and then I ran back to the car as fast as possible. Speeding off, I caught the visage of the woman running back inside after dropping the coffee cup. I think she knew the situation way better than me. Now, you can theorize whatever you like about what happened that night, but I know for a fact the house is vacant. Not sold, vacant. No cars pull up there. It's just empty. I know it's got that empty look. Starbucks is my third place now, because I don't want to risk going back to Beehive and it being dangerous for me in some sort of way. I don't know what I stumbled upon, but my fourth place is that house now. And no, I still haven't stopped drinking Venti caramel macchiatos.